Thanks you guys for making time. I watched the film yesterday. It was really amazing. I'd like to ask Lissette just a couple of questions first. And I first wanted to ask about, I know you've talked really at length about the women who inspired this film, particularly your mother. And I wonder if you could talk about the title and that sort of obscure Janis Joplin song that you chose. I was not familiar with that song until I Googled it.
Yeah, I know. Me neither. So great. Yeah, I mean, well, did it make you mad? That was kind of the point. I wanted it to elicit, I needed a title that was going to elicit an emotion. And the emotion would then elicit an action. The action hopefully is press play, which is what that title did for me when I heard the song. Because I actually hadn't listened to Janis much before this, because, you know, I'm from San Francisco, so she's kind of like, you know, the Golden Gate Bridge, you kind of like, you know about it, but yeah, you know, so I finally listened to her music, and her first song, the second one that she wrote, but the first one she ever performed was one called Women as Losers, and she's a feminist icon, so I got mad. It's like, what is she talking about, blah, blah, blah. And then I listened, which is probably how people feel when they read our title, which is good. I heard the song, and she was talking about the same themes in the movie, you know, pains of being a second-class citizen, making fun of the situation, and also just really calling out an unsaid truth in a way that where she wasn't a victim, but she was just acknowledging the reality so that hopefully we could get around it. So many times I feel like we're just like, no, everything's fine. It's like, it's not. It's okay for it not to be fine. And that doesn't make you a victim, but also acknowledging that you have to acknowledge what's in front of you. Otherwise, how are you going to get around it?
Great, thanks. I'm also really interested in your inspiration for the tone and the feel of this film. While it's a period film, it feels really modern in terms of the color, the soundtrack. There are some anachronisms in there. And since you are the writer, director, and producer, I feel like maybe much of that came from you. And if you could talk about some of those choices a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So the through line of the film is intergenerationality. Like, the things that Selena's character, Lorenza's character, is dealing with in 1967 through 1973 were things that I was dealing with in 2021. So it didn't feel like I had to really pick a time period, because it's every time period. It's now. It's currently now. It's going to be, unfortunately, the next couple of years as well. And that is the kind of the message of the movie in general. So being able to use that really gave me carte blanche to kind of, you know, use all the different techniques, all the different sounds, all the different music, all the different colors, you know, even different film styles, right? The breaking of the fourth wall is a film style that came around a lot later. The graduates scene in the train scene, right? That famous graduate scene where they Dustin Hoffman and they're like driving away, which is like the most famous movie of the 1967, two young people in 1967. So I use that same shot, except we have Simu Liu and we have Lorenza Izzo, who are also part of 1967. This was also America. So yeah, I had carte blanche.
Great, thanks. Lorenza, your performance is really the centerpiece of this film. And while I feel like there's some of the story that's not new, because sadly women have been dealing with this for generations, and maybe it's new to men, it's not new to us, right? But your words and your expressions really show us how it's all new to Sel, and she's just like a little bit crushed every single time. And I wonder if you could talk about what inspired you, you know, as a younger person with similar different experiences, where you found, what you drew on for that.
First of all, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. It was really important to me that when we're with Selena, we're with Selena, and we're feeling these crushes as real first-time crushes, and we're seeing her disappointment from being an innocent, naive child and pushed into the reality of what San Francisco 60s was like in that community, in the Latino community, in that huge melting pot of cultures. But being a woman was second-class citizen, and understanding what that would be for her, a system completely set up for her to fail at every turn. So I really wanted to portray that, but I was coming in as a grown-ish woman with some experience under her belt and some unfortunate experiences. And I didn't have to draw from things that were too far away from me for this character. It was from the get-go. Selena was very much in my heart, the experience of her and what she goes through at every turn, and what all these women figures in my life have gone through. As you just said so well, it's like we all know a woman who has gone through something like that, similar, if not yourself. So I didn't have to draw on so much. At the same time, I was conscious that I was telling a story that was set in real life. I was respecting Lisette's history and all of our women's history in a way to bring something new, not in terms of what I'm sharing, but in terms of how Selena was experiencing it. And the device of breaking the fourth wall was what really did that. I think where we really managed, I hope where we managed to tell it in a new way, was being able to level with the audience, not in a way of like, I'm teaching you something, in a way of like, level with me, this is what it's like. So I really wanted to get that dichotomy of like the newness of her going through these things that we know so well now are so old, and then the leveling of the breaking of the fourth wall. This is the hard truth.
I thought that was a really great choice. Particularly, the fourth wall really struck me in that scene where Gilbert says, "Oh, what are you saving for a wedding dress?" And you turn to the camera and say, "That's casual sexism." And I feel maybe men watching this film, maybe, okay, I don't want to impugn all men. There are plenty
No, of course not.
but
That's not the intention. Yeah.
but I felt like that was really critical for some audience members to be able to see that.
Microaggressions, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. Oh, did you just go shopping? That's great.
Microaggressions, micro assumptions, micro everything.
Yeah, for sure. We don't have Chrissy Fit with us, but could you talk for a moment about that unbelievable scene where Marty dies and the work she did there? I'm sorry to bring up another actor's performance, but you both were amazing in that scene.
Oh, I mean, I'm so sorry. My performance is nothing without my acting partners. I can't carry the film because by myself, we all have to carry this film, and my performance wouldn't be available if I didn't have these incredible partners. And Chrissy is the best. First of all, I love her as a person. She's incredible and brought so much to the table, right? Lisa, and like from day one, we had that bestie, best friend, like synergy. It was really so easy. The chemistry was there. So when we were in the hospital and shooting those horrifying scenes, we were also shooting the other scenes at the same time where Selena goes through that 9-month period. So a majority of the cast was there, and it was mainly women. So we were really going through this very difficult thing shooting together. And then by the time it was the time to shoot that scene with Marty, with Chrissy, we were really there in that space. It was in an abandoned hospital. It was in a very bad ward. I can't remember the ward. Lisette will know more about the location, but it was a heavy ambience. It wasn't light. And obviously the subject matter wasn't light. And she just brought it all. It was not that hard for me to react to what she was giving me, you know?
So speaking of the cast, the whole cast is amazing. And Lisette, I think that you are this is your first feature maybe, and you make a big point in the beginning of the film in talking about the limited budget and the constraints, and yet the cast is really from, even those of you in your early career, Lorenza, you've worked with Keanu Reeves, you've worked with Eli Roth, and then you have everyone all the way up to Stephen Bauer, who, like, is there anything he has not done? And, I wonder if you could talk about putting that cast together. I mean, you even got, I know you shot this before the Marvel movie came out, but you've got someone who's about to be a household name. And I wonder if you could talk about working with this like range of actors and how you put it together. What was it like? Did the women pal around with the men, or are you all method and didn't talk to each other? Or
No, well, I will say this cast, this movie lives and dies by this cast. Like, nobody was selfish. Everybody gave each other a lot of space. And as a director, like, I've seen it happen a bunch of different ways. But I will say, to Lorenza's point about Chrissy and Brian and even Simu and even Steven, everybody that came to it, they were helping each other. You know, nobody was a selfish actor with their scene partner. They were there for each other. They were standing for each other. And that camaraderie really built around. It added to the authenticity of the piece. So it really was. I cast for people. I tend to cast the people because I do believe that you're already really great actors, but souls are harder to cast for. And so everybody that came to the story, they had to come to it because they wanted to be there. They had to come to it because they were trying to say something that they hadn't had a chance to say before. Because they had that investment, I think is why it popped the way that it did. And obviously you're seeing, the audience is getting to see now who these actors really are as people and who they are as talent. You know, my greatest feat here will be that the world will see Lorenza as a leading lady, as this force of nature that can not only carry a film, but she can carry a film that had no resources, and she can carry it to stardom. That Chrissy Fit is a dramatic actress that obviously everybody has already seen what Seymour has done, but like we knew that going in, that this was way before Marvel, but he walks in, he's a presence, he's a magic. You know he's here to do something much bigger. Brian, being one of those actors that a male actor at that could really, really, really phone it in, because that is his privilege, and he doesn't. He really is there for us. And then Stephen Bauer, of course, who's in Liza Wheel. Everybody they're the greatest actors of all time, and they just showed up and they did the work. And that's really, I think, as a director, my favorite part about this is finding people that are willing to do the work.
And Lorenza, anything you'd like to add about that before we have to wrap up?
No, Lissette said it so beautifully. This was such a feat of love and sweat and blood and tears. And we were all there to make the same film. Like the crew and the cast, we all knew this was an important story, a story that needed to be told, and a story that is now so timely with all the current events happening, a story that can resonate in the public events, but it's also a story of hope and, reaching your dreams. And I am an immigrant, and I have been following my American dream. So it's very powerful to have it out on HBO Max so soon, and to have seen a truly independent film make it this far and have all this attention is just so gratifying to be a part of this.
So it will be more gratifying. Hopefully, we're going out for award season, so we will see. I'm really looking forward to see how the world after Monday responds to the performance, responds to the cast and what we tried to do here.
Great. Well, it really was great and really surprising in a lot of ways. I enjoyed it. Thanks so much for making time to speak with me today. I really appreciate it, and good luck with the reception.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.